Listen, folks, if you got student loans, credit cards, anything that has to do with understanding the lending process, for 88 years, it has not been taught in our schools. We are expected to have these loans. We're expected to understand them. We're expected to use them to buy houses, to buy cars, to buy our education, but no one tells us how we can use these loans to our advantage. We are paying 75% more interest than you need to. Let me break that down another way. If you are supposed to pay $300,000 on any loan, you can use that same budget to pay around $90,000 to $100,000. We're looking at a loan right now of $360,000, okay? $360,000 at 2.3%. The interest on that is $138,000. Okay. So let me do a quick math here. 138,000 on average. Now, this is just an average. Everybody's going to be different when it comes to this. So on 138,000 that you're supposed to pay, that the bank is looking for, how would you like to be able to pay around 45,000 instead, using your same budget and not having to affect your lifestyle? Meaning you don't have to eat beans and rice every day to do this. You don't have to stay home and not go on vacation to do this. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car or cut up your credit cards or anything like that. You do not have to live like a pauper to pay $46,000 in interest instead of $138,000 in interest. We will show you how. And I want to focus in on the fact that we are trying to establish generational wealth. And one of the biggest things that get in the way of building generational wealth is paying interest on loans. It is not borrowing money. Don't make borrowing money the devil, okay? It is interest cost that is the problem. And we need to do exactly opposite of what we've been told. Listen, I hear even on the app, even though they've been in my room, we have shared the stages, but it's so hard to get out of that mindset that right now what we're being told is even if you purchase now at the higher interest rate, then what you want to do is get the lower interest rate later. All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to put some new numbers on the screen, and we're going to go to $450,000. All right. At 6% interest. Okay. All right. For 30 years. Take a look at this. All right. So even at $450,000 at 6% interest. All right. And if you're residential, if you are a real estate investor, it doesn't matter. What we're talking about is the higher interest rate. And here's what I'm hearing. When the interest rates get better, meaning when they get lower, you can refinance into the lower interest rate. But the person that said that didn't give you why it's better. We just assume that the lower interest rate is better than the higher interest rate with no evidence. Now, has anybody heard the numbers that go along with that to prove it? So when they say, if you add 6% and you can get down to 4% or 3.5%, refinance to that and it'll be better for you, without telling you how it's better, without giving you empirical evidence in numbers, in dollars and cents, how it is better. And I will get into why you should not, if you're in this loan, why you should not refinance for the purpose of saving money, because it doesn't. I'm also going to let you know that if you're refinancing for the purpose of taking cash out to reinvest, that is a good idea. But I'm also going to show you what to do with the fee that you're charged so you don't have to pay a ton of interest on the fee. Okay, so let's start with this first. $450,000 at 6% interest. Let's take a look at the payment of $2697.98. If you can afford the payment, you are good to go here. All right. So let's get down into that payment amount. Now, when we look at this, with our old eyes, okay, with the way that we have been taught to look at it, the way the banking has conditioned us to look at this, we're looking at this and seeing only $447.98 going to principal the first month, $2,250 going to interest. Now, I'm going to be emphatic. You know, sometimes you say it depends. And folks, I'm telling you right now, I can't think of a depends. If you're trying to save money, if you're looking at saving money in the traditional sense of how we've been taught, I can't think of a reason that if you can afford this payment to refinance to a lower interest rate, it does not save you money. Don't ever do it. Stay at your higher interest rate if you can afford the payment. Okay? You only want to refinance if the payment becomes a problem. But if the payment is not a problem, I'm going to show you why this is better than 2.99. All right, 2.99. So here's what we've got, folks. $447.98 going to principal, while $2,250 goes to interest. So we've already gone over this, but if you're new to what we're doing, if you're new to what we're talking about, how to eliminate interest cost, the way to do that is to focus in on your principal payment. Controlling principal payment controls the loan. Not interest rate, but controlling your principal payment controls the loan. You want to have the principal payment low enough so that it lines up with how much money you're making and how much money you have left over after all the bills are paid, so you can take advantage of your loan instead of your loan taking advantage of you. Here's what I mean by that. Okay, so now $447. So if we make a payment here, let's say we make a payment in January, where $447.98 goes to principal, $2,250 goes to interest. And our payment for February, $450 would go to principal. Okay. Now, if we prepay that, meaning if we make a payment in January and we make an extra $450.22 applied to principal in January, then we eliminate line 2 from our payment. We save $2,247.76 in interest we never have to pay. And our next mortgage payment is on line 3. That's as simple as it gets, folks. That's as simple as it gets. And if you want to pay half the $450, that would be what? $225. You'd save half the interest, over $1,000 in interest. Okay, over $1,100 in interest you would save by giving the bank an extra $225. Most people are unaware of that. So getting the principal payment to a point where you can leverage the funds that you have available so that it does more work for you, that is what's key. P.I.L.L stands for this: prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.